Yo, this is Omari Newton.
And I'm Luvia Petersen.
And this is the Visible Minority Report. Boom! So we have a special emergency podcast that I actually called this one.
Bow, wow, wow.
Yeah, there's been some stuff going on in the world that's had me pretty down, and Luvia's been pretty good at picking me up. But it's an emergency podcast to talk about the Trayvon Martin. I can't even say the Trayvon Martin case, but the entire debacle surrounding the Trayvon Martin incident.
Yeah, because it's not an isolated thing. It's not like it was 1, 2, and 3, and then we can wrap it up in a neat box, put a bow on it, and boom, you're done. Yeah. This, and the more time that there is between the verdict and now, the more bullshit arises.
Yep. Just basic, like, my Facebook wall has been a battleground.
It exploded.
For any number of just ignorant, entitled, insensitive comments.
Isn't it interesting how whenever life events happen like this, there's a group of people that are hurt.
Yep.
Profoundly hurt and affected, and then there's an equal amount of group of people that are assholes and unsensitive
and they
feel entitled to comment on it like they know or they have the right. Anyways, should we start from the beginning?
Let's start from the beginning.
It's always a good place to start.
So, should we start with the verdict or just explain the trial to the people?
Why don't you you've been following this trial since day one, essentially, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's been going on for a year.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
So why don't you walk us through that process?
Okay. Well, basically, I remember...
I didn't even know you. Oh, I did know you.
I
knew you.
You just knew me. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, what happened in this Trayvon Martin case was, about a year ago, I heard about this young kid, Trayvon Martin, who was shot, an unarmed kid, by the way. He was walking the streets with a hoodie on, holding Skittles and iced tea.
It was a gated community.
It's a gated community in Florida, Sanford, Florida.
Did Trayvon Martin live in that community?
His father did.
Okay.
He was visiting his father. His parents were divorced. He was visiting his father.
Okay.
He went to the store to pick up candy and iced tea for his little brother, apparently. Right? So I hear on the news that this neighborhood watchman followed this kid who he thought he looked suspicious and shot him and killed him, and the kid was unarmed. The first I heard of the case, when initially it became this, like, public outcry and, like, social media campaign, was the guy who did it wasn't even arrested. So the initial push was to have him just have a trial. So George Zimmerman shot this kid, went to police, explained the story, and the cops in Sanford went, "Yeah, we believe you. You're free to go." And
so do you know how long between...
46 days.
46 days? Over a month?
He walked the streets a free man for 46 days while the 17-year-old kid was dead because the explanation he gave to the police was taken at face value, and they said, okay. And now, so my initial outcry was, can we at least prosecute this guy? Can we at least have a jury and a judge go, what happened?
Because, look, someone's dead.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we look into this a little further and maybe not be police, judge, and jury?
Right, and executioner.
And executioner, all like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why we have a legal system.
Sure.
When someone dies, like right away,
it'd probably investigate.
There's an investigation.
You would hope.
Okay, so that's odd.
So this is
that
odd.
There was no investigation until 46 days later. Why was an investigation prompted?
It was prompted because there was one lawyer in particular who I can't remember his name, but he started screaming bloody murder, being like, "This is bullshit. We need to look into this." And then some civil rights activists got behind it. The story kind of went viral, and there was public pressure put on the Sanford police to at least have a trial with this guy. Right. So now, cut to a few days ago, the trial happens, and George Zimmerman is found innocent of
second-degree murder.
Everything. Of second-degree murder.
Of manslaughter.
They just said, you were justified in what you did. And
here's your gun.
Here's your gun back. And you're free to
go.
Have
a nice day.
Yeah.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah. And he actually, in a pre-trial interview, I saw him essentially say, George Zimmerman, he feels like black people owe him an apology because he was wrongfully accused. Now,
why don't just people owe him an apology?
I don't know. I don't know.
Just black people specifically.
Well,
so
I don't
owe him an apology, but I don't.
Well, I don't know. I guess people, but I don't want to misquote because both of us know. I don't want to get into the minutiae of the trial because we know the gist of it. The bottom line is this.
Bottom line.
A kid is dead.
Yes.
A 17-year-old boy is dead. Now, you can. There was all kinds of theories thrown out in the courtroom about who attacked who first, and blah 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 blah. And so the stand your ground law, which said he had the right to defend himself. So first of all, Luvia and I are not lawyers, right? So we
look like lawyers. We could play lawyers on TV.
And I think I have. I think I've played a lawyer on TV.
You have? I played a police officer, so I can speak about police officer things because I've played a police officer and a nurse. So.
I think I played a lawyer in the theater, so, but we're
good enough.
Experts on law and medicine.
But we're joking around right now. But the truth is this is all on we have to survive.
Yeah.
Actually, just thinking of that now. The defense's opening statement was with a knock-knock joke.
Yeah.
You remember that? That was kind of odd. And look, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I'm just going to say there's a 17-year-old kid dead. Maybe you shouldn't be making knock-knock jokes. I don't care what kind of point you're trying to make. Well, it's not appropriate.
And then early in the trial, I can't remember her name, but one of Trayvon Martin's friends, who was a young girl, dark-skinned, kind of overweight, and looked, by mainstream American standards, looked kind of ghetto. And she took the stand, and she didn't want to be there. She was kind of like a hostile witness, and she wasn't very articulate because she's a young kid who's not all that well educated.
I'm still not articulate. Like when I was 7, however old she is.
Sure.
How old is she? 14, 15?
15. She's a teenager.
Yeah. I mean, how articulate were you at 15?
Well, after the defense puts her on the stand, one of the lead lawyers for the defense goes out with his daughters, and one of his daughters takes a picture, tweets this picture of them having ice cream, and writes, "We beat stupidity," and writes #Dad killed it, which just in terms of sensitivity and choice of words in a murder trial, Dad killed it, and we beat stupidity. And what made it worse is these were super privileged, their dad is a successful lawyer, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, beautiful girls, and they're just obviously completely oblivious to...
They're a product of their environment.
Yeah.
You want to talk about products of environment, that's a product of your environment, that's a product of your upbringing, that's ignorance, that's inbred ignorance. Not saying that they're inbred, but the ignorance has been bred into them.
Well, they just aren't aware of the broader implications of the trial or of what sending out a pic like that or with a headline of "We beat stupidity."
Yeah, that's gross.
What it's saying about this poor girl, and on a greater level, what it's saying about people from her demographic and from her community. Right. So, I guess now the reason why I wanted to talk about this is just that. Look, whether you, I think in terms of legality, yes, the quote-unquote right verdict was made because they couldn't have found him guilty of second-degree murder. They didn't have enough evidence.
There was not enough evidence. The defense beat the prosecution.
Yes. So I understand that. So again, Luvia and I are lawyers. We don't want to get into the legalities of the case, but we're talking about morality and common sense. And what bugs me, and I don't want to say I'm speaking on behalf of all black people, but what bugs a lot of my black friends is that no matter how you look at it, Trayvon Martin did not leave his house looking to randomly get into a fight with someone.
No, of course not.
He was walking home to his dad's house.
Yeah.
So there would not have been an altercation. Forget about who hit who first. There would not have been any punches thrown. There wouldn't have been an altercation if the kid was not followed home
and pursued
by this guy.
Yeah.
And I think what leaves a lot of us feeling sick is this idea that it's okay to profile someone, whether it's racial or not. And I think race always plays an element in these things. But whether it's racial or not, he, for whatever reason, decided that Trayvon Martin looked like a suspect. He looked suspicious. So what this ruling says is you can see someone in your neighborhood who's doing nothing wrong. And even the lead prosecutor in the case said, whatever Zimmerman described that was quote-unquote suspicious, he's like, I would not have followed someone for that. He said, there's nothing that you described to me that seemed suspicious, right? So, the bottom line is, a kid is dead, and it's because this guy wrongly thought he was a criminal up to no good. He overreacted, an altercation happened, he feared for his life, and he shot and killed this kid.
See, this makes me sick, in my stomach, the more we talk about it and whenever we talk about it. And for anyone to look at this and say this has nothing to do with race. You're being ignorant, and you're coming from a position of
luxury.
Yeah, of luxury. The fact that you don't see race, like, look at yourself in the mirror for a second and just check in with yourself. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, he was profiled. Trayvon Martin was profiled. Why? Why? Because he was just a young kid? I mean, it becomes a case of what ifs if you start replacing Trayvon Martin with a white kid. Well, Trayvon Martin with, you know what I mean? Like, I get that, but...
forget about race for a second. What if Trayvon Martin was a woman?
Right.
What if a woman was walking home at 7 o'clock at night? It wasn't even like it was 2 o'clock in the morning. It was 7 o'clock at night. What if a woman was walking through a neighborhood and a strange man started following this woman home? How long does someone have to follow you before you're entitled to confront
defend
the guy?
Yourself and entitled to stand your ground? What about Trayvon Martin's rights to stand his ground? Right. Just because he didn't have a gun? Had he had a gun and shot and killed Zimmerman, would he then have gotten off?
And this is another question that I'd love to know. If you know that you're carrying a weapon, how do you ever get into a hand-to-hand combat situation?
Right.
To me, if I had a weapon on me and somebody who I'd profiled and I thought they were a dangerous-looking person and they were suspicious, I'd be like, I have a gun.
Yeah.
Or I'd pull my gun. Like, I don't understand how it ever reached the point where Zimmerman supposedly was getting his ass beat by a 158-pound child.
Right.
Like, I read the medical examiner's report. Trayvon Martin was 5'11", 158. You know how small that is? The average size of a woman, I looked this up actually, according to a survey between 1960 and 2002, the average size of a woman, and I believe, was about 161 pounds.
Wow.
I believe, in 2002 this was. So, and that's in America.
So
Trayvon Martin was smaller than the average woman in America, and this grown man
was getting his
ass whooped by a 17-year-old boy who he pursued. There's just so many things about the case that, and again, we're not lawyers. We don't want to get caught up in the legalities of it. But
no, but look, the point is like, my friend's losing sleep. My friend is disgusted and beside himself, and I'm looking at him and I'm trying to think of, like, what can I say? You know, what can I say to make this better? What can I say to make you feel better? How do I apologize? Because I feel, you know what I mean? Like, I felt so much responsibility and so much weight and just disgust, and there are no words. I was telling Omari this, I'm like, when an event like this happens, the reason why everyone is so elevated and disgusted, and there's two sides to it, I mean, there's many shades of gray, is we live life comfortably because we blanket everything. It's all disguised. But when an event like this, when a young 17-year-old kid walking home gets killed because he was racially profiled, the veil is lifted. We are now living with all of this disgusted racism, and we're living, the world that we live in is revealed. And all sorts of people come out of the woodwork to say their point of view. Well, I personally think, well, let's debate about this. First of all, it's not something to debate. The facts are the facts. This is what happened, and this man is free and able to do this again tomorrow. He got his gun. Give it back to him. So if he shoots your kid tomorrow,
it's cool.
It's okay.
According to the law in Sanford, he can tomorrow, if your kid is walking through his neighborhood with a hoodie, acting quote-unquote suspicious, this same guy can follow your child home. This same guy can, if this kid turns around to fight him after he follows him and after the 911 operator tells him not to do it, this same guy can kill your kid, and there's now been a legal precedent set. According to the law, he's done nothing wrong. He can do this every day for a week.
That's what's disgusting too. There has been a legal precedent. So if another case happens like this, they can refer to this case, can't they?
I'm sure, yeah.
I don't know. We're not lawyers.
But stand your ground is a long-standing law in Florida. The irony is there was this black woman who apparently was denied stand your ground. I don't know if you heard this story, but in Florida there was this black woman she'd filed a restraining order against her husband, and her husband had ignored the restraining order and came after her in her home. She fired 5 warning shots and didn't kill him. She didn't even kill her husband. She was denied the stand your ground defense, and she's going to jail for 20 years.
Why?
But it's not about race, though.
Right.
It's not about race. The black
It's
woman
not
goes
about
to jail.
race.